Hey people, it's me again. So, anyways, um, one of the things that I want to talk about here, as far as that goes, when it comes to the whole law of attraction, law of assumption sort of thing here, and one of the biggest reasons why we keep saying like circumstances don't matter when it comes to manifesting your SP, and you have infinite chances when it comes to your SP of that sort. It is the fact that we live in a multiverse or infinite timelines or whatever you would call it. And the the example is like how we have all these TV stations and radio stations all existing at once, and or all the websites all existing at the same time is another thing, or all the videos on YouTube existing at the same time, you know, is one example. And it's one of those little things where it was kind of like the tuner method. I think that's what it's called, the tuner method. But it's where you visualize like it's like you're changing the dial on a radio tuner, or on the TV, and like back in the day where we had like these little dials where it was for like the VHF and the UHF there, and it reminded me of the TV sets back then. It was like about uh, probably like 35 years ago, where I had a TV set in my room here, but it was only I could only watch anything that was on broadcast, which would be like channel 2, channel 4, channel 11, and channel 9 and 5 and 7, and then any of like the UHF channels of that sort, because my dad was a bit of a cheapskate, because he didn't want to shell out another couple of dollars just to have cable hooked up into in my room at that point, because at that time, Dad just didn't quite understand that me being in my room was my me time in order to recharge at that point. But that was kind of like how it was with a lot of extroverts who just don't understand introverts for some reason. And so that was one of the things there. So, anyways, I mean, that was kind of like the analogy as far as when it comes to manifesting your specific person, because and one of the reasons that they said is that you're not messing with their free will, because in a way people do change their minds. I can recall many times how when it came to one of my ex-boyfriends, Ricky, when how many times he came back, went from not wanting anything to do with me to messaging me out of the blue like want to fuck or something like that. That was one of the things I kind of even remember, you know where he had ghosted me that one time. And then, but this was back after my cousin's wedding back in '08. And then I kind of didn't really want anything to do with him, because I got tired of him not communicating with me. And even though he had like two full-time jobs, he could at least pencil me in as far as that goes, because of the whole thing with it, the two full-time jobs. That thought, Ricky was bad for me. Like, he wasn't really that interested when he was just having two full-time jobs and all that. So he barely had any free time of that sort, as far as to go out on dates and all that. And plus, I can't drive it because of my eyes, anyways. And the fact that I was just too embarrassed to ask dad or my brothers or my mom for a ride to Ricky's place or whatever, and it was just a lot of the other things there that I just gotten so comfortable, being more of a homebody than just actually being outside a lot. But still, that was one of those little things again, you know. But as I kind of said before about it, is like, I have all the choices in the world when it comes to all that. Whether if it's just, that I could even manifest Ricky back into my life, even though he's married to a woman and has a kid. I can even manifest Daniel Franzesi if I want to, as far as that goes or whatever. So it's just, when you came to that other SP of mine, as I said earlier, that, yeah, I think I'm only going to accept the better version of him where he's not that clingy and he's available to me at that point, and any of the other ones there that if they're emotionally available, that they're willing to at least take it somewhat slow at that point, somewhere in the middle because of that. So, anyways, I guess that's probably it. So, talk to you guys later.